It's the Sunday before Heroes Day, and how appropriate that during this period we're celebrating our expressions, traditions and country. As we reflect on our triumphant leaders, let us pull on their strength to achieve our daily goals. Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkinson, and you're watching Jamaica Magazine. Between the pages today, we pay homage to our heritage with a detailed look at the coat of arms. Plus, the public sector is improving its service for the greater good of the nation. Director General of the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, Denise Pottinger-Scott, sits in the Issues Chair, providing answers on the plans. It's countdown to the Heroes Holiday. Stay with us as we inform ourselves for a better Jamaica.
Chikungunya is a viral infection transmitted when an Aedes aegypti mosquito bites an infected person and then bites someone else. Symptoms include high fever, headache, joint pain, muscle pain, and rash. If you suspect that you've been infected, take paracetamol, such as Panadol, Cetamol, and Tylenol. Infants, children under 5 years old, pregnant women, the elderly, persons with sickle cell, and chronic illnesses such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease are at risk for more severe symptoms and must see a doctor for proper evaluation and monitoring. Fortunately, most cases of CHIKV are mild, but if your symptoms worsen, you need to see a doctor. For more info, call 1-888-1-LOVE from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. That number again, 1-888-663-5683.
Longing for flexible work hours? Well, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is ready to give you just that through its new flexi-time arrangement. This means both you and your employer can arrange the traditional 40-hour work week in a way that best suits your needs and that of the organization to which you are employed. So expect a shorter work week, more family or business time, more jobs through part-time work opportunities, reduced traffic during peak hours, improved customer service due to varied opening hours, reduced absenteeism, and much more. So come on, balance work, balance life with flexi-time.
Easier development approval process and eliminating bureaucracy are just two of the areas being addressed by the Public Sector Modernization Program. To tell us more on this unit is the Director General, Denise Pottinger-Scott. She is up shortly with Ian Boyne, but first we hear from the Finance Minister.
The Cabinet also reviewed and agreed to a plan for public sector transformation and finalized an action plan in this regard. This action plan is what you might call a continuously updated plan, in the sense that as tasks in the plan get completed, new priority tasks will be incorporated into the plan as we continue to implement over the course of the next 3 or more years.
Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. A lot of people are now talking about public sector reform. This is another major plank of the government's economic reform program. And we have with us today the Director General of Public Sector Transformation and Modernization. This is Denise Pottinger-Scott. She'll be telling us about the next steps in this important public sector reform program. We thank you for your company. Good to have you on the show.
My pleasure.
As I said, the public sector reform is the next big thing to take place in the economic reform program. The Cabinet has recently signed off on a new program, and it's important to outline what are some of the key elements of this public sector transformation modernization program.
Thank you, Mr. Boyne. just to step back a little bit before actually identifying those elements, the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program has more or less taken over or replaced the Public Sector Modernization Program and the MRP. Everybody knows it as MRP, which was the it was the Public Sector Master Rationalization Plan, and a lot of improvements as well as amalgamations so as to be able to gain efficiencies have in fact taken place. And it is important to point this out because we think that this is a way of really concentrating the efforts of the administration, of the government, rather than fragmenting it in different entities.
Just to make a point. First, there was a public sector modernization division, and then there was a public sector transformation unit.
Yes.
2 entities.
Yes.
So now those have been merged.
Yes.
So you are leading by example, by getting your own act together in-house.
Yes.
Before you lead the general thrust. Okay.
Right, because we think we will have a much better impact, and of course we will build efficiencies in that. Yes. And you mentioned that the government has now signed off on a program, and they have identified those areas that we think are achievable within the next 6 to 12 months, or roughly approximately 18 months. Okay. Why have we picked that time period? The truth of the matter is that we do have a 5-year plan. We have thought through over the next 5 years what are some of those changes that we want to see in the public sector. However, we want to accelerate the implementation process by focusing on those things that we think will have the greatest impact in the shortest possible time in terms of growing the efficiencies within the public sector as well as contributing to growth. So what are some of those things? What are some of those key areas? If we talk in very broad terms at first, we looked at things that affected the ease of doing business in Jamaica. We also looked at the use of ICT, that is information communication technology, in building efficiencies and supporting the work of the public sector. We looked at that important group, the HR management structures inside of the public sector, to see what are some of those changes that could be made so as to get our service delivered to our citizens in a much more expeditious, courteous, and more convenient. And by convenient here, I'm talking about trying to reduce the time people have to spend to get government services in various areas. So that is HR. We looked at also the business of governance and accountability. And we also looked at the 5th area being the whole business of administrative efficiencies, and a number of things would fall under there. But if we go back to the actual action plan, we have a number of projects, but we knew that we couldn't do all of them with the same effectiveness all at the same time. So the idea is to identify those projects within the various categories that I mentioned that we can have the greatest impact I mentioned before, and as quickly as possible. So in the case of ease of doing business, for example, here we are thinking about not just the citizens, but in general, but we're thinking of them, of course, but also businesses. It's how to improve the business. Local investors too. Local investors too. One of the things in I want to take the
break at this point, Mrs. Pottinger, Scott, and she's looking at the areas of improvements that are going to be made in the public sector. The public sector consumes a significant part of the government's budget, and it is in the interest of all of us to have the public sector operating efficiently. The Director General of Public Sector Transformation and Modernization, Mrs. Venice Pottinger Scott, is here talking to us about the thrust of modernization. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young. We are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
We're talking public sector transformation and modernization, and the Director General responsible for that, Mrs. Vinnie Spottinger Scott, is with us. So you were saying to us concretely now in the area of ease of business, business facilitation, what will be done?
Yes. One of the areas that I know has been extremely problematic in the past is the whole business of the development approval process. And we are going to be focusing on increasing or extending the introduction of automation. Automation in the form of what we have been referring to as the Amanda system in all parish councils and also in the agencies that work along with parish councils in the building approval process.
So what it will mean now?
It means that, concretely, after everything is up and working, people will be able to track where their projects are, their application for building approvals or for subdivisions. They will be able to track where the approval process has reached. So
and
that
you've worked out some timelines that it won't take more than this number of days for approvals to be made. Have you put yourself to those
because
accountability standards?
We are targeting the 90-day as the 90-day as that maximum that it should take. We know that sometimes you have some projects that may be a little bit more complex. But the important thing is that there is what is called, in short, an acronym DAC, which is the that center where all of the discussions take place about what you need to submit. Because a lot of times the delays are due to the incompleteness of information submitted. So we have to have a way of ensuring that
people know what they have to do, what they have to submit.
Yes, and then the 90 days start when all information has been placed in the system, and then the tracking, of course. Now, another area, and that is the Amanda system, because we're going to be automating. People will have better knowledge as to where their things are. And of course, it is visible to all of the participating agencies, so we will know where the delays are and how to expedite. Now, another area that we are going to be focused on is this business of the, it is called the GEI, which is the Electrical Inspectorate Office. Now, a lot of times, builders will tell you that they experience a lot of delays because before they can continue and complete their buildings, you have to check the inspectors have to come. And we are also being tracked on that, or ranked in terms of our delivery of electricity services through the various international ranking bodies, especially in the case of the Doing Business
World
and of
Bank
course the company. The World Bank
Business Report.
Yes, and it is our intention to reduce the time it really takes to get those approvals through the system through re-engineering the processes as well as automating. Using automation again in that system. Yes. Okay, so that is about the ease of doing business and improving the environment. And those are just two things. I mean, there are a number of other things, but those are some of the main ones. Now, another area that we are going to be focusing is using the strategy of shared corporate services so as to be able to build economies in government. What does that mean? We intend to use arrangements to allow MDAs, that is ministries, agencies, and departments, to concentrate on some of the main areas, their core functions, and those more routine, repetitive functions can be grouped in a single, or depending on which model is used, different entities, so that the daily operations of the institutions, whether it is in relation to HR, in relation to legal services, in relation to internal audit, what have you. The core things that need to be done can be concentrated in the ministries, and through the use of what is called service level agreements, where the entity that takes on these responsibilities, they agree on the standards of delivery, the timing, and so on and so on. And you know that when you tend to congregate functions over a time, you gain efficiencies because you really are specialized in these areas that you can move much faster. While in the case of the main ministries, the focus on policy development, more strategic work, and so on, can go on. And when you group them, of course, you have economies of scale. So the intention is to use that shared corporate services approach to try and deal with some of the areas and functions inside of government. In fact, one of them may be communications and public relations in the long run. Yes, that is one of those areas that has been signed off on as a possibility.
And you are hoping to effect significant savings to government as a result of the work that you're doing in transformation and modernization.
Yes, and each time we talk about building efficiencies, although sometimes you don't necessarily illustrate what you mean, the fact of the matter is that by saving time, by saving time and making things more expeditious, and of course using re-engineered processes, you are in fact making it cheaper. There are other more direct saving approaches and strategies that one can use. And one of the areas that we are going to be also looking at is the whole business of privatizations, mergers, and outsourcing in government.
But we need to have another discussion, because those are critical areas that we need to look at. We also need to look at areas to whether redundancies are coming, whether they're going to be significant cuts. So we need to have another discussion on this very soon. The Director General of Public Sector Transformation and Modernization, Venice Pottinger-Scott, speaking to us about the thrust toward public sector reform. That is a phrase you're going to be hearing a lot of in the next few months, and we want to be a significant part of that discussion. Next week we'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.
Schools, colleges, businesses need research material for the upcoming heritage celebrations? Look no further. The Jamaica Information Service has all the heritage items you need. Books, flags, posters, CDs, and DVDs. Don't wait until the last minute. Get your material today. Visit the Jamaica Information Service at 58A Halfway Tree Road, Kingston, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays to Thursdays, and 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. on Fridays. Come in, call, or click to place your order. Email research@jis.gov.jm or call 926-359024.
Wriggle me this, wriggle me that, guess me this wriggle, or perhaps not. Here one crocodile, some pineapple, and it say, out of many, one people. What me I talk about? You know, say if you say coat of arms, you're bright. It's representative of our culture and can be seen on many national items. Next, a feature on the meaning behind the symbol.
Jamaica's national motto, out of many, one people, is based on the population's multiracial roots. The motto is represented on the coat of arms, which is also known as the Arms of Jamaica. It shows a male and female of the Taino tribe standing on either side of a shield, which has a red cross with 5 golden pineapples. The crest has a Jamaican crocodile mounted on the royal helmet of the British monarchy and mantling. Jamaica's coat of arms was granted to the country by the British in 1661 under royal warrant. It was designed by William Sancroft, then Archbishop of Canterbury. The original motto in Latin translates to "The two Indians will serve as one," or "Both Indies will serve together." It was later replaced with the English motto, "Out of many, one people." This is a tribute to the unity of the different cultural minorities that make up Jamaica.
To help us take a closer look at the Jamaican coat of arms is logistics and protocol consultant Merrick Needham. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you again. The Jamaican coat of arms is considered a legacy from the British. What's the legacy?
Well, the British, the English in particular, were the first, or among the very first, to design arms, or what's colloquially but not strictly speaking correctly called coat of arms. And they designed very good ones. And this is a particularly good one. It's reflective of a lot of aspects of Jamaica. And it has great antiquity. It's now, as a result of our keeping it, one of the oldest national arms in the world.
That's quite a legacy. We still have a male and female Arawak on either side of the shield. They've been long gone, so why is this so?
Well, they were the original human inhabitants. It's not their fault that they were decimated largely by the Spaniards and the few that were left to some extent by the English. But, you know, a lot of them escaped to the mountains, they joined the Maroons and so on, and lots of Jamaicans still have some little tiny strain of Taino or Arawak blood in them. Why has it got to change, you know, every time there's a population change? If we say that it should represent Afro-Jamaicans more, well, what about when the Indians started coming and when the Chinese started coming and later, you know, there's a limit to how you can keep adjusting things. It's tradition.
Jamaica has a number of fruits and animals that are indigenous to us. Why the pineapple and why the crocodile?
Well, a crocodile is an indigenous creature for Jamaica. And at the time of the design of the arms, there was a lot more swampland and so on than there is now. There were a lot more crocodiles, and they thought they were alligators. In fact, there used to be an old joke that the only alligator in Jamaica is the one on the arms. And so, you know, that was legitimate. And usually arms have fairly aggressive crests, such as a lion or a tiger or a bear or something like that. So, you know, you would want to use an alligator rather than some rather domestic-looking little thing.
Pineapple. Why
Pineapples. The pineapple, yeah, that's a bit harder for me to justify. It wasn't indigenous. It was brought to Jamaica from the Pacific area by Captain Cook. I think probably just because they look regal as a fruit. You know, it has a crown-like look to it. It is the most central factor, apart from the Cross of St. George, on the coat of arms, which is the bit right in the center of the arms.
Regal and suitable.
Regal and suitable, yes. Absolutely.
Today, the Jamaican coat of arms appears on all our banknotes and coins, as well as on national documents. In many respects, it is used as the final seal of government approval.
The country is engulfed with talk of chickpea. Children and adults have been affected with flu-like symptoms. Government, for its part, has activated a National Emergency Action Plan, providing more than $500 million towards the effort. Government is also on high alert for and implementing measures to prevent the introduction of Ebola in the country. Already, essential service providers and immigration officers have been trained to detect any threat of the virus to the island. The Health Ministry's Acting Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kevin Harvey, has been discussing partnership with Pan American Health Organization to prepare Jamaica for any possible introduction of Ebola. He says much is being done to protect citizens.
The incubation period is 2 to 21 days, so you could be free of symptoms for 3 weeks. And therefore you could travel anywhere in the world and be perfectly well. Pass through any airport with any fever scanner and not be detected as being ill. Ebola is spread by body fluids. So if you are not ill, if you're not having the fever, the vomiting, the diarrhea, and the bleeding, then your body fluids is essentially intact. So you can't spread it until you start having the symptoms. Only 2 places in the Americas are accredited for doing the testing for Ebola, and that is the CDC lab in Atlanta and the Public Health Lab of Canada. And they have what we call bio-level safety 4 labs, which can handle the virus.
As we enjoy the holiday period, let's be smart like all heroes and exercise personal responsibility in protecting ourselves from contracting a painful virus.
Prevent chikungunya. Get rid of mosquito breeding sites around the home. Empty dish drainers and keep refrigerator troughs dry. Punch holes in the bottom of tin cans before placing them in the garbage. Keep houseplants in damp soil instead of water, and keep flowerpot saucers dry. Keep drains, ditches, roof gutters and eaves clean so water will drain properly. And remember to open your windows during fogging. Also, wear light-colored clothing and cover your body as much as possible to prevent mosquito bites. For more information on chikungunya prevention, call the Ministry of Health toll-free at 1-888-1-LOVE. That's 1-888-663-5683. Mondays to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Now my heart sympathize with her. Me say, God and Mary, girl, you're right. But hear me mind, thank God for me belly. Going to bus tonight, so run the big fan some steel bread. Make Jones some coconut eye. Shot loud, make grudgeful Emma know.
We're going to eat inside.
Life is all about making decisions. Choosing from a number of options to do a particular thing, which may result in a specific outcome.
It can be difficult, but there are 4 things you can do to help make that decision.
Stop. Check out what's happening and remind yourself to think before acting.
Think. Make sure you're aware of the choices, all the advantages and disadvantages. Then think about the consequences.
Act. Choose the best option and do something about it.
Review.
Finally, review what you have done and determine if it was good or bad. That way, you'll be in a better position to make the next decision, whether big or simple.
Before we go, words of wisdom from Jamaica's first national hero. Men who are in earnest are not afraid of consequences. Marcus Garvey encouraging us to remain resolute in our endeavors. The information continues to flow on our website, jis.gov.jm, or you can follow us on Twitter at JIS News. Or for more features, visit our YouTube channel at Watch JIS. Join us again tomorrow on this same station. Until then, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Have yourselves a peaceful holiday.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.